Hi everyone, Vintomania here, just with another video. This one is a DVD review that I've had requested by Chris Hill, Mr. Big Red 1990. I'm sure if you're a subscriber of mine, chances are you've probably subscribed to mine because you've seen either Haley X Swanton Girly X or Chris talk about me on their YouTube channel, which I thank them for, and had a few people subscribing, so thanks very much for that. Got about, it's still starting off, so I'm about 50 odd subscribers now, so I will be doing a competition near the time. I just need to get a couple of things sorted just regarding that. But Chris asked me if I could do a DVD review of this here, the Bobby Heenan DVD set. I'll just read you the back of this here. Bobby the Brain Heenan revolutionised sports entertainment with impressive skills as a manager, wrestler and a colour commentator. He is recognised as the greatest manager of all time. The Brain's sharp, quick wit made him a valuable mouthpiece for those he represented. How true that is. Over the years, Heenan's numerous proteges include AWA champion Nick Bockwinkel, Ravishing Rick Rude, Mr. Perfect, Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard, Harley Race and of course Andre the Giant, whom Heenan led to the ring of WrestleMania 3 before 93,000 fans in 1987. As a broadcast journalist, Heenan formed a classic combination with Gorilla Monsoon, and the two became the Albert and Costello of sports entertainment. In 2004, Heenan was rightfully inducted in the WWE Hall of Fame. Now, for the first time ever, fans can relive the Brain's magnificent career in Bobby the Brain Heenan, a 2 DVD set complete with a career-spanning biography that tells the life story of the Brain as well as hours of bonus features, including those famous matches and interviews and moments. So, some of the special features are 7 complete matches including battles with Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warriors, as well as Heenan's commentary on the 1992 Royal Rumble match, which is brilliant because that's the one Ric Flair wins. There's a part in it where for Flair and I think it's Jake the Snake has Flair and Piper clotheslines Roberts and goes like, "Oh, I never thought I'd say this, but thank you, Piper. It's not a skirt, it's a kilt." And then a second later, he starts kicking Flair, "Oh, you skirt-wearing freak," you know, things like that. So that's just quick wit of Bobby Heenan. His 2004 induction to the Hall of Fame and some moments like Primetime Wrestling, which he did with Gorilla Monsoon and things like that. So I made some notes here, so just going to go through it. So start off, a lot of people talking about Bobby Heenan, Vince McMahon, saying that he's possibly one of the best managers ever. That's kind of how you start the program and end the program. Now, obviously with Bobby Heenan being quite ill with throat cancer, he doesn't appear on this DVD. It's mainly his wife and his daughter that are talking on behalf of him, and then you obviously have some of the wrestlers, you know, like Nick Bockwinkel or Ken Patera, to name but a few. They talk about WrestleMania 3, that very much like Jimmy Hart would manage so many people. There was 3 people that Heenan managed at WrestleMania. Harley Race was one. I can't remember who the other one was, and obviously the main one was Andre the Giant, coming down the wee motorised carts. Just like at the end, whenever, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen WrestleMania 3, Andre loses. And you just see them going away in the cart, and Heenan looking very dejected. Things like that. One of the main gimmicks for Bobby Heenan was the weasel suit. Now, if anyone's watched the self-destruction of the Ultimate Warrior, Bobby Heenan talks about this at length, because in AWA actually does that with Greg Gagne, and then in WWE he said on the self-destruction of Ultimate Warrior he wanted to do it with Hogan, but Hogan was doing a program with somebody else, so it had to be the Ultimate Warrior. Well, I'll not tell you what he says about the Ultimate Warrior. I'll leave that for like another review. So obviously he was down the AWA, you know, managing like Nick Bockwinkel, Ray Stevens as a tag team, and just according to the AWA DVD, he was the only one that actually gave his notice and worked, you know, like the 6 weeks or 4 weeks, whereas the likes of Hogan, Jesse Ventura, you know, Tino Grillandol give their notice and away they went. He was the only one who actually gave his notice and stayed there that whole time, which is a credit to him. But his wife said he was ready to head to WWE, you know, he was ready to head to the big time. You know, this was after Vince Jr. had bought it over from his father. and then obviously you have the Heenan family. You have like a wealth of people there, whether it be King Kong Bundy, Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig, Andre the Giant, Ravishing Rick Rude, Hardy Race, I think Hercules was in there. Yeah, it was Hercules, to name but a few. And obviously Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard were called the Brain Busters in WWE. Obviously that's a name derived from Bobby the Brain Heenan, so that kind of signifies them being with them. It's very much like the Hart Foundation had Jimmy the Mouth, Hart as their manager, you know, that kind of thing. So that was fantastic. Seeing some of their interviews, you know, with Heenan in the early days of WWE, Gene Okerlund was very much at the forefront. He would be the, you know, obviously we have Josh Matthews nowadays or Matt Striker. It seems to be neither here nor there, whereas obviously at that time it was Gene Okerlund was the interviewer, and some of the things it comes off with, you know, Gene Okerlund says, well, oh, Bobby Heenan, I must say this, and Bobby Heenan says, you must say nothing. You must stand there and shut up, because I have a lot to say. And things like that. Like the classic line that Heenan came off with was, if you listen to me, go to the top. If you don't listen to me, you're never heard from again. And that line is kind of played a few times in this DVD set. So Gene Okerlund says that Bobby would kind of work an interview on like any other. You know, he seems to get personally involved in it and things like that. He's just sharp as tact, you know, one of the sharpest wits, which I'll go on to later on. But just some of the things he would come off with was just terrific. Obviously then you had the pairing of Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby the Brain Heenan. Now for me, growing up, this was a dream announced team. Even Jerry Lawler says that, you know, people come up to him and say, oh King, you know, like you and Jay are the best commentators of all time, apart from Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan, of course. This for me is the era wherever I was growing up. WrestleMania 8 was my first pay-per-view that I watched, and these two were talking. This is obviously the first time we see Lex Luger as well. He was in great shape, by the way. But seeing things like, just hearing them saying, you know, getting riled up on Bobby Heenan, saying, you know, saying stuff to him and go like, I'm going to get out of here. Don't jump, it's a long way down. Put him up, and you just hear Gorilla Monsoon laughing, things like that. They then had primetime wrestling, which is kind of the way now we have Bottom Line and well, I think it's Bottom Line or Live Wire or whatever the heck it is. It kind of recaps it. It was kind of that thing there. 2 hours that went on for, and I really wish that they would bring that out as a set. You know, we had the Best of Raw volumes 1 and 2, which was some of the worst stuff that I've seen, bar like a handful of matches. Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig being a prime example of that, being a standout match. But I really wish we would release a lot of older stuff like Primetime Wrestling, because the skits in between those two were just hilarious. And there's a scene where we see Bobby Heenan with a collar around his neck, and Gorilla Monsoon asks, you know, how he's doing. Oh, I'm doing well, you know, the fans have written to me, I believe in Beverly Hills my mailman is hunchback for all the mail that he's been carrying and things like that. And it just seems seamless, you know, and it seems to be like it's no effort. The two of them just got on so well. Even in his Hall of Fame speech, you know, he said that everything was perfect bar one thing, and he looked up and he started getting tearful and saying, I wish Monsoon was here. But even though I'm getting a lump in my throat whenever I'm saying that. But, you know, they were such good friends. I'm sure it's very much the same case with Jerry Lawler and JR, you know, that kind of thing. So, like, then it kind of spanned off, and Bobby Heenan got his own show on USA Network. Vince says that they didn't actually tell USA Network what they were doing, and they just went ahead, did it, sent it off, you know, that kind of thing. And Vince says, you know, it was way ahead of its time. I think if you subscribe to WWE Classics on WWE.com now, I think it's only a couple of £1 a month, and I really need to start doing this again, because I did have it done. I kind of stopped it whenever I was coming out of wrestling. And I think that's on there. You know, and you can watch, like, I think there was maybe 7 or 8 episodes, I'm going to say. I'm not 100% sure, but I think some of it is involved in this DVD set. And unfortunately, a lot, like with a lot of them, like the Four Horsemen one I reviewed, you kind of get a pamphlet that tells you the breakdown and all the special features, but unfortunately this doesn't have it. Bobby is one of the very few that have done like like 3 transitions. He's went from being a wrestler to being a manager to being a colour commentator. I suppose in some ways you could say Mr. Perfect had done that because he was a performer. He managed Ric Flair and then he was a colour commentator. He didn't miss being in the ring. He didn't miss being sore, you know, being bounced about and stuff. But some of the bumps he took. And one thing I love is, I can't remember who it's against, but Bobby Heenan kind of does something and runs and jumps over the top turnbuckle, or top rope, sorry. And it just, like, for somebody who's that age, you know, you don't even see a lot of the young bucks these days doing it. 1993, parted ways with WWE and wanted to go to Hollywood to do like commercials and things like that, but unfortunately it didn't pan out, and then WCW contacted him about having a reduced, you know, he didn't have to travel as much, he was closer to home, closer to his daughter. His daughter was growing up and was going off to college or university or something of that degree, no pun intended. So he was able to, it was like a 2-hour drive, so he was able to go home, you know, more frequently than with WWE. They were obviously in a different town every night. So before he left, December 6, 1993, Gorilla Monsoon comes down and says, we've got good news and bad news. Good news is you've won a free trip, and the bad news is it's out of here. So you see him like getting thrown out of the arena, and his bag being chucked out, and there's like a sock and toilet roll and everything all there, and that's the last time you see him. But like Bobby Heenan, that's very memorable. You know, it's on the Best of Raw Volume 1 and 2 set, and one of the more brighter moments on that set, to be honest with you. So obviously Gene Okerlund was down there, and you see him putting the finger up to his ear and saying, oh no, you're kidding me. He goes, ladies and gentlemen, Bobby the Brain Heenan. And he comes out and goes, Heenan, won't you leave me alone? Stop following me. Oh, I'm here to work. What are you here doing? You're here to work, who says? Oh, Ted and Jane Turner say so. And they have like this mock thing of a newspaper saying, you know, WCW gets brains, which that's probably the only brains they have, but that's neither here nor there. So his wife said that the good points was that, you know, him going to WCW was that he was close to home, 2-hour drive, that kind of thing. But the bad points was he wasn't happy with the situation. There's a scene where we see him with he's sitting there and Brian Pillman goes to take his jacket off, and he takes his headset off, and I think he says, "What do you think you're doing?" But he doesn't realise it's Heenan, and you see, or Pillman, sorry. And there's a scene where he's with, I think it's Tony Schiavone, and goes like, will somebody please tell us what's going on, please? Some woman saying about nitro fragrance, and actually throws it in his face, so he gets like, you know, perfume in his face, which isn't really good, you know, not a happy time for him being down there. 6 years later, he found that he had discomfort in his mouth after he'd finished eating food and stuff. He would get like a metallic taste, so he made a point with the doctor, and it turned out that he had throat cancer. His daughter, who is now a nurse, said, you know, like, he's so lucky to be alive. I think by that time it was stage 4 of it. So obviously, you know, like, he lost a lot of weight. I think he had to get fed through a tube in the stomach or something like that, because there's a photo you see of him with his shirt open and there's like a tube in his stomach. Obviously, you know, it's not something you wish on anyone, especially on somebody is with a lot to give like Heenan. But he carried on going, you know. He would do like different fan fests, fan conventions, things like that, where he made up with a lot of the old guards, you know, whether it be like Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Roddy Piper, or, you know, whoever. And he said it was a lot of fun. You got to relive the old days, that kind of thing. So then he was inducted in WWE Hall of Fame 2004. I believe that was the first Hall of Fame DVD that we released. I think that was one that had Jesse Ventura, Tito Santana, Sergeant Slaughter, Greg Valentine, and Pete Rose. Because one of the first lines is, I have a confession to make, I bet on pro wrestling, and you see Pete Rose laughing. There's a great story he tells about Ric Flair, that Vince says you have to go on the road with Ric Flair for 6 months. It goes like, you know, after a week his liver was all shot near enough, and, you know, going on the road with Larry Flint, and you could just see Flair get red and redder with the laughing and he's doing. So if you don't have the 2004 DVD, the Hall of Fame speech is including this full speech, which is brilliant. It was actually his first time he would actually done public speaking, you know, since his illness. Still had it, you know, lots of Bobby chants and everything, said, damn it, I'm having fun up here. But, you know, it was just great to see him. Vince says, you know, it's kind of a small way to say thank you for all the work you've done in the industry, you know, for ourselves, for other organisations, that kind of thing. And then you have like Joey Styles, Jim Cornette, Michael Hayes, Harvey Whippleman, all saying that he was the best manager. Even Dolph Ziggler says that if you're getting in the wrestling business, you should strive to be as entertaining as Bobby the Brain Heenan, which is a good way to look at it. The last time we kind of see him in WWE announcing is WrestleMania 17 with Gene Okerlund at the Gimmick Battle Royal. Obviously there's still some one-liners he comes off with, you know, like Iron Sheik come down to the ring and it says by the time he gets here it'll be like WrestleMania 25, things like that. So if you enjoy what I've said about this DVD, but you kind of just want to see him talk about something else, perhaps, The World's Greatest Managers is a good one to go for. Talks about a lot of good managers, you know, like Paulie Dangerously or Paulie Heyman, Sonny, Sensational Sherry, Miss Elizabeth, Bobby Heenan, Lou Albano, name but a few. He also talks on the Self-Destruction Ultimate Warrior as well, and that's a really good DVD. This is a great DVD, don't get me wrong. I just wish that Bobby was in better health to talk about his career. You know, it's good that you see his wife and his daughter talk about it, but I just wish that that he wasn't stricken with what he was stricken with. Let's put it that way. Wouldn't wish that on anyone, and it's great to see that, you know, still the affection is there for him. Inducted in the Hall of Fame, rightly so. Gorilla Monsoon, by my opinion, the greatest announced team of all time, and that's the way it is. But would you agree with me? Would you not agree? Leave a comment. Sorry, my nose is really itchy, so that's why you see me doing that a lot. Yeah, so if you've watched this video and not a subscriber, please subscribe. As I say, I'll probably be doing a competition near the time, see if we can get a DVD or something to give away, or a wrestling book, something like that. Also listen to my Wrestle Shock podcast, a new one with Mike Lacey to do with the world's greatest tag team. Yeah, it's a podcast based on Shelton Benjamin and Charlie Haas. The top 5 tag teams of all time, as you know, you've sent in your list, and we need your list for the top 5 Intercontinental champions of all time. Whether Cody Rhodes is your favourite, whether it be Christian, Edge, to name but a few, send them in at vinto316@gmail.com. That'd be great. Yeah, just like the video. Just thanks if you're a subscriber, and most of all, thanks for watching.